So itong ni-launch nung Wednesday is just the first part of the first section of 9 sections of the Pasig River Esplanade, which is only part of the larger Pasig River Urban Development Plan, PRUD. This is is supposed to be the deliverable based on yung executive order ni BBM last July of 2023, which set up the Interagency Council for the Pasig River Development. And the council's task is to make sure that the river is brought back to life, that it becomes a basis for economic and social development, that it helps the whole metropolis in its transportation as well as housing and economic relief. Yung other major part of the Esplanade system are the two large housing developments at either end. Sa Baseco, everybody knows where Baseco is, and a much larger housing estate at the mouth of the Laguna de Bai. So at the other end, so east and west. So yung Baseco and the one at the Laguna Lake entrance of the river will produce at a total, ang target is 1 million. I'm not involved with the housing development.
1 million?
Housing units.
Okay.
So essentially, yan yung, that will house half a million Metro Manilans. So yung mga maapekto ng clearing sa river, of course, depending on whose statistics you cite, it's anywhere from 50 to 250,000 people will be affected. At the least, it's about 50,000 or 10,000 families, but it's probably more. Kasi sakop ng master plan is well inside the banks of the river.
Oo nga.
The river is not just a river. The river is the river and its tributaries. And if you want to solve the problem of pollution, you have to make sure all of these people, formal and informal, their needs are addressed.
Yung Malacanang, nandun din yun, di ba?
No, isa pa yun.
Okay, ikaw ay...
Pwede siguro ilipat natin.
Ilipat natin. Oo, I'm sure.
Maraming reason na pwede.
Minsan di ba?
Yung pagbabaha at the western end, hindi na masyadong problema. Yung problema nasa eastern end.
Pwede sila magsama-sama sa BGC along with the Senate, di ba? Para mas masaya.
At mas malapit sa mga bahay nila.
Paulo, ikaw, nagtrabaho ka na sa ibang bansa. Sa Pilipinas lang ba ang may syudad na may ilog ka na hindi prime real estate yung...
Tama yun. In any other city, in any other...
Singapore.
Sydney, Hong Kong, San Francisco.
Exactly.
Yung pinaka-mahal na property is the one that overlooks a body of water, either the sea or the river. I mean, South Bank sa Melbourne, the Sydney Harbour, of course, along the Singapore River, and I had the opportunity to help in that. But the Singapore River is only 2 kilometers.
Yes,
Actually, yung first segment namin is exactly the same length. So if we finish this first segment siguro within the year, we will have achieved what Singapore did in
First segment ng Singapore lang. The whole Singapore.
No, our first segment of Pasig River is the length of the Singapore River. Yung Singapore River is only, 3 kilometers inside kasi maliit lang naman ang Singapore.
With the 50, Paulo, do we have kahit time frame or estimate or even with all the nations?
The marching order is for 3 years.
3 years.
Theoretically, you can do it. Everyone aligned with the program, and we're just starting to do that. The launching last Wednesday was a proof of concept to say that we could do something in a few, it's actually 2.5 months, with very little coordination yet with amongst the 15 agencies that are under the council, not including the 7 LGUs.
Diba?
Now, the 7 LGUs were the rivers and the tributaries flow, actually more like 9. Hindi pa na isasama namin sa proseso. So it will take a lot of coordination, and this comes from 2 decades of experience with the other previous. So ang ginawa ni Secretary Alcazaren is also to call in experts and people who've had experience with similar projects or in similar types of development. So my collaborator in this is William T. of WTA. And he's younger than me, but he's very experienced in township development because essential sa paggawa ng master plan, he's also an urban designer, is to identify and figure out anong pwedeng gawin sa mga lupang hindi masyadong na-utilize. If you go up and down the Pasig River, maraming lugar dun na one-story, two-story lang yung mga development at madalas, especially dito sa Pasig, most of the lots are old warehouses or unbuilt on land. So we have to anticipate. Yan ang sinasabi ko, we plan ahead so we can fix the transport system. So there are two transport systems, three. No,
Along
two.
the river?
Three.
Yes.
Along the river, on the esplanades themselves is the active mobility, yung tinatawag na active mobility, walking and biking. Then you have the ferries. The ferries, kasalukuyan, ang namamahala nito yung MMDA and the Coast Guard in tandem. And they are already renovating this. So we already met with MMDA. Ang sabi namin kay Chair Don Artes, baka kailangan natin pag-isipan kung saan ilalagay yung bagong ferry station because they're already thinking of 2, but actually they should be thinking of maybe 10 or 12 more. And then the existing locations, ang initial assessment namin is that they're in the wrong place. A lot of them.
Sa eskolta? Hindi mo type?
Slightly wrong.
Katapat lang nito yun, no? Di ba?
Yes. No, yun okay pa. Pero yung mali nung unang first wave of building is they put ferry stations pero walang kasamang pedestrian bridge so you can get to the other side.
Oo.
So makikinabang lang doon yung one side of the river.
Correct.
What about the other people? So they will have to look for the first bridge and there are 20 plus bridges across the Pasig, but everyone except for one is a vehicular bridge and it's very unfriendly for pedestrians.
Correct. At baka hold upin ka para madilim sa...
Exactly.
Diba? Well, Paulo,
So the cost, ask me how much the cost of a pedestrian bridge is.
bridge, how much?
So we are suggesting that they build at least 1 dozen pedestrian bridges. 1 dozen pedestrian bridge can be built at less the cost of one vehicular bridge.
Okay.
So it's cheap.
Ito, spanning the river ito.
Spanning the river. Well, the average width of the river is only 50 meters.
Baka marami magtalunan doon, Paulo. Hindi kaya?
No, kudos to DPWH. Gumawa na sila ng pedestrian bridge na katapat ng ferry sa Santa Ana. So meron na.
Okay.
May proof of concept na doon.
Oh,
So they did it at very little cost.
Paulo. Kunyari ito, no? Parang siguro may mga kababayan tayo na inisip na, okay, para mabuhay ito, yung mga esplanade na ito, dapat may pera, dapat social. Ganun ba talaga yung ang realidad? Na, okay, poverty equals squalor. Ito, ibigay natin ito sa mga private companies para mas malilinis. Wala na bang ibang wala bang gitnang solusyon?
Well, yung nakita ng mga tao dito sa first pilot project, medyo bololoy dahil nga neoclassic yung area. So binagay lang sa hugis ng mga historic buildings. Further down the river, ang direksyon namin is more practical and more neutral. Yung sa Iloilo, medyo neutral yung style. Pare-pareho yung railing, madaling i-manufacture. So we have economies of scale kung sinong contractor gagawa niyan, pati yung paving materials. Yung mga artwork, kagaya sa Iloilo, a lot of it is donated or volunteered. So it can be the same. So may participation ang lahat ng LGU as well as NGOs or civic organizations to put in things like public art, to also help in the maintenance and then they will have ownership, no? So ang isang advice namin sa council is to set up katumbas na sa business at saka sa local communities, because it's the local communities kagaya na sa Iloilo that take care of their sections. So may ownership, and it's important na ma-engage sila at the very start, which we did in Iloilo. When at the very start we had several stakeholder meetings, we presented the designs, kumuha kami ng feedback, in-adjust namin yung designs, but the trick is kailangan gawin na kagad. Kasi if we had to wait, then
abutan na naman.
Well, that's the proof that Secretary Alcazar wanted to push, is that it can be done, and it can be done.
Kulang ang oras natin.
But just a last, yung sinasabi na dapat social, hindi naman yung problema sa yung myth na social yung lugar, is that we will spend the same amount of money. The only difference is that we can design it better. It's better design. So if you get good designers, not just like myself, there are several of us in this group, then it's good design, money well spent, and people will use it.